the sky-high rescue and a spark of destiny. Unseen forces can change your life in an instant. What if the most desperate moment of your life led you to a stranger who held the key to everything? Before we unravel this incredible tale of fate and second chances, hit that subscribe button, like this video, and tell us in the comments what one unexpected moment changed your life. Please, I need this flight. My doctor appointment is tomorrow morning, Isabella pleaded, one hand protectively cradling her swollen belly, the other tightly gripping her daughter Sophia's small fingers. The airport agent's sympathetic smile did nothing to soften her words. I'm truly sorry, but the flight is overbooked. We can get you on tomorrow's connection with a hotel voucher for tonight. Isabella's heart hammered against her ribs. She felt tears prick her eyes, hot and desperate. You don't understand. This appointment took months to schedule. I'm having complications with the baby. Her voice cracked, exposing the raw fear she fought so hard to hide. This couldn't be happening. Not now, not when so much depended on it. Is there a problem here? Isabella spun around to find a well-dressed man, tall with kind, discerning eyes and an air of quiet authority that commanded attention without demanding it. His gaze flicked briefly to her visibly pregnant belly before returning to her face, a flicker of concern softening his features. No, thank you. It's fine, Isabella answered stiffly, her pride overriding desperation. She wouldn't accept charity, no matter how dire her situation. But Sophia, always too perceptive for her 8 years, tugged at the man's sleeve. They're taking away our seats, and my mama needs to see her doctor tomorrow. The baby might be sick. The stranger knelt to Sophia's level, his expression genuinely gentle. That sounds serious, little one. He stood and approached the counter, pulling out a sleek leather wallet. I'd like to purchase 2 first-class tickets for this lady and her daughter. Sir, that's very generous, but... The agent began, bewildered. Please process it quickly. We're all eager to board, he insisted, sliding his credit card across the counter with a decisive gesture. Isabella stepped forward, her cheeks burning. I can't accept that. It's too much. Consider it my good deed for the day. He extended a hand, his touch firm and reassuring. Julian Vargas. Isabella Reyes, she replied reluctantly, her hand surprisingly small in his, a jolt passing between them. And this is my daughter, Sophia. I'm 8, Sophia announced proudly, holding up her ever-present sketchbook. Do you want to see my drawings? Have you ever witnessed an act of incredible kindness from a stranger? Share your story in the comments below. It's amazing how a single gesture can change everything, isn't it? If this story has already captured your heart, please like this video and subscribe to our channel to follow Isabella's incredible journey. 20 minutes later, Isabella found herself sinking into a plush first-class seat she couldn't have afforded in her wildest dreams, directly across the aisle from her mysterious benefactor. Sophia had already made herself comfortable, legs swinging excitedly as she explored the entertainment system. Thank you again, but this really wasn't necessary, Isabella said, unable to shake the feeling of overwhelming indebtedness. Julian waved away her concern with a dismissive hand. Business brings me to Santiago often. The upgrade points were just sitting there. She knew he was lying to spare her pride, but appreciated the gesture. Still, not many people would help strangers like this, especially not a struggling, pregnant single mother. You seemed like you needed a break, Julian replied simply, his gaze surprisingly direct. Lima business not go as planned? Isabella sighed, a tired laugh escaping her lips. That obvious, huh? I was trying to secure investors for my bakery, Sweet Whispers, traditional Peruvian pastries with organic ingredients. But apparently, I'm not scalable enough for their portfolios. Their loss? Julian commented, a hint of disdain in his voice. What made you start a bakery? As the plane reached cruising altitude, Isabella found herself sharing more than she intended. How her grandmother's cherished recipes had gotten her through the darkest period after Sophia's father left, leaving her utterly alone and heartbroken. How baking connected her to her roots, even as she tried to innovate and build a new future. And now, with this little one coming, She patted her belly, a mix of hope and anxiety in her eyes. I need the business to succeed more than ever. What about you? She asked, suddenly aware she'd been doing all the talking. What brings you to Lima? Hotel acquisitions, Julian replied. I develop boutique hotels focused on authentic cultural experiences rather than generic luxury. You own hotels? Plural, Isabella asked, eyes widening in surprise. Julian smiled self-consciously. It started with one small hostel in a mountain village outside Cusco. Things grew from there. Mama, look what I drew. Sophia interrupted, thrusting her sketchbook toward them. It showed a simple but recognizable portrait of Julian, his distinctive eyes rendered with careful attention. That's very good, mi amor, Isabella praised. You captured my eyes perfectly, Julian added seriously, earning a beaming smile from Sophia. The flight attendant arrived with their meal service, and Isabella shifted to make room on her tray table. Suddenly, a sharp, searing pain shot through her abdomen. She gasped, clutching her stomach, her breath catching in her throat. Mama! Sophia's voice rose with panic, fear etched on her small face. The baby! Something's wrong, Isabella whispered, her vision blurring as pain rippled through her again. The flight attendant rushed to call for medical assistance, asking if any passengers were doctors. I need you to breathe with me. Julian's voice cut through her panic, calm and steady as he knelt beside her seat. Like this, in through your nose, out through your mouth. You're a doctor? She managed between ragged breaths. I was a medical student, before life took a different turn, he replied, his hand steady on her back, guiding her. My sister had 3 children. I helped deliver the last one when they couldn't reach the hospital in time. As Isabella followed his breathing guidance, focusing on his calm voice, the pain gradually subsided. Braxton Hicks contractions, Julian explained, his brow furrowed with concentration. False labor, common in the 3rd trimester, especially during travel. How did you know? She asked, color slowly returning to her face, a wave of relief washing over her. The pattern of your pain, your breathing. Real labor is more rhythmic. The flight attendant returned with water and a doctor from economy class who confirmed Julian's assessment. You seem to be in capable hands already, the doctor noted with approval before returning to his seat. Isabella watched as Julian gently explained to a frightened Sophia that her mum and the baby were fine, just tired from the trip. The care with which he addressed her daughter's fears touched something deep within her, a place she thought had long been dormant. Thank you, she said softly when he returned to his seat. For everything. It's nothing, he insisted, though his eyes lingered on her. But maybe you should rest for the remainder of the flight. Isabella nodded, reclining her seat. As she drifted towards sleep, she caught Sophia showing Julian more drawings, his interest seemingly genuine. She couldn't remember the last time a man had shown such kindness to her daughter. When they landed in Santiago, Julian helped gather their belongings and escorted them to the taxi stand. Will we see you again? Sophia asked hopefully, her small face alight with trust. Julian glanced at Isabella, his expression unreadable. Santiago is a small city in some ways. Thank you again for your help, Isabella said, extending her hand formally, a subtle barrier between them. Instead of shaking it, Julian pressed a business card into her palm. If you ever need anything, we'll be fine, Isabella interrupted gently, tucking the card into her purse. She hadn't survived this long by depending on the kindness of strangers, no matter how attractive or seemingly genuine. As their taxi pulled away, Sophia waved enthusiastically through the back window. Isabella caught a glimpse of Julian standing alone, watching them depart before the bustling crowd swallowed him from view. I like him, Mama, Sophia declared. He feels like sunshine. Isabella smiled tiredly, a faint warmth spreading through her. He was very kind. Will we see him again? Probably not. Isabella stroked her daughter's hair. But it's nice to know there are still good people in the world. She didn't tell Sophia how she'd slipped Julian's business card into the secret pocket of her wallet, nor why. Some possibilities were too fragile to name, especially when you'd learned the hard way that happy endings were just stories people told. What do you think will happen next for Isabella and Julian? Will fate bring them together again? Or was this just a fleeting moment of kindness? Share your predictions in the comments below. If you're captivated by their story, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for the next thrilling chapter. 2 weeks later, Isabella wiped sweat from her brow as she restocked the display case at Sweet Whispers, her small bakery in Lima. The morning rush had depleted her inventory of traditional media lunas and alfajors, a good problem, but exhausting in her advanced pregnancy. Mama! Mama! Sophia's excited voice carried from the street. Look who I found! Isabella turned, nearly dropping the tray of pastries. There, in her doorway, stood Julian Vargas, looking slightly embarrassed as Sophia tugged him by the hand into the bakery. It's the airplane man, Sophia announced to the remaining customers, her voice bubbling with uncontained joy. He saved us from missing our flight. Sophia, mi vida? Isabella scolded gently, a blush creeping up her neck. Don't bother. It's no bother, Julian assured her, a warm smile gracing his lips. I was as surprised as you must be. I was exploring this part of Lima when this young artist recognized me from across the plaza. You remember my name? Sophia beamed, her small face radiating happiness. How could I forget such a talented artist? Julian replied, producing a small, beautifully wrapped package from his pocket. I even brought new colored pencils for your drawings. Sophia's eyes widened as she accepted the gift. Gracias. These are the fancy kind. Isabella dried her hands on her apron, approaching cautiously. This is unexpected. A happy coincidence, Julian agreed, though something in his steady gaze suggested more than mere chance. Mama makes the best pastries in all of Peru, Sophia declared proudly. You should try one. Before Isabella could protest, Sophia had dragged Julian to the counter, pointing out her favorites with infectious enthusiasm. The dulce de leche medialunas are our specialty, Isabella found herself saying, a hint of her grandmother's pride in her voice. My grandmother's recipe. Then I have to try them, Julian smiled, the warmth finally reaching his eyes. Isabella served him personally, watching as he took his first bite. His expression of genuine pleasure, pure, unadulterated delight, loosened something tight in her chest, a tension she hadn't realized she was holding. This is incredible, he said, his voice laced with awe. The balance of flavors, the texture. Isabella, this is world-class. She blushed despite herself. My grandmother would be pleased to hear that. Do you believe in coincidences? Or do some encounters feel like destiny? Share your thoughts below. If this story is stirring your emotions, please hit that like button and subscribe for more heartwarming tales. When the last customer departed, Julian remained, helping Sophia meticulously arrange her new pencils while Isabella cleaned up. So, she finally asked, her curiosity piqued. What really brings you to this neighborhood? I doubt it was just to try my pastries. Julian looked slightly sheepish. I'm scouting local businesses for partnerships with my new hotel. We're opening in Miraflores next month, and I want authentic local products, not mass-produced tourist fare. And you remembered my bakery from our conversation? Isabella asked, a flicker of surprise in her eyes. I remember everything about our conversation, he admitted, his gaze unwavering, including that you were looking for business opportunities. Isabella folded her arms protectively over her belly. I don't need charity, Mr. Vargas. This isn't charity, Julian insisted, his voice firm. It's good business. Guests want authentic experiences, and your pastries are exactly what I'm looking for. Quality speaks for itself. His eyes met hers, holding her gaze. And authenticity is my brand. After closing, Isabella reluctantly agreed to discuss terms. Julian proposed featuring her pastries exclusively in his hotel's breakfast service, with proper credit and branding. We'd start with regular standing orders, but if guests respond well, we could discuss a small cafe space in the hotel lobby, he explained, excitement evident in his voice. That's generous, Isabella said cautiously, still weighing the implications. It's practical, he countered. Authenticity is my brand, and quality speaks for itself. Over the following weeks, Julian became a regular fixture at the bakery. The hotel contract provided much-needed stability for Isabella's precarious finances, and his business advice, offered gently and insightfully, proved invaluable. More surprisingly, he formed a genuine bond with Sophia, who had been withdrawn since her father left. She smiles more now, Camila, Isabella's sister, observed one evening after Julian had dropped off contracts and stayed for dinner. He's been kind to her, Isabella acknowledged, a faint warmth spreading through her. And to you, Camila teased, nudging her. He looks at you like you hung the moon, sister. Don't be ridiculous, Isabella scoffed, though her heart fluttered. He's a successful businessman. I'm just... Isabella gestured to her pregnant form, feeling suddenly self-conscious. A beautiful, talented woman carrying life, Camila finished, a knowing look in her eyes. When will you see yourself clearly, Isabella? One rainy afternoon, Julian arrived at the bakery with extra umbrellas, just as Isabella was wondering how she'd get Sophia home without them both getting soaked. I thought you might need these, he explained, shaking water from his dark hair. The forecast mentioned thunderstorms. You came all this way in the rain just to bring us umbrellas? Isabella asked, incredulous but touched. I was in the neighborhood, he replied unconvincingly, a playful glint in his eyes. As they closed the shop together, their hands brushed while reaching for the same pastry box. The electricity between them was undeniable, a subtle spark that made Isabella's breath hitch. She instinctively pulled away. I can't offer you anything, Julian, she said softly, her gaze dropping to her rounded belly. My life is complicated. I'm not asking for anything, he replied, his voice gentle but firm. But I've never felt this comfortable with anyone before. The next day, an elegant invitation arrived for Isabella and Sophia to attend the grand opening of Julian's new hotel. Despite her reservations, Isabella found herself accepting, a curious pull she couldn't deny. What does one wear to a fancy hotel opening? She asked Camila desperately, feeling utterly out of her element. Camila, ever practical, produced a stunning emerald green dress that miraculously accommodated Isabella's pregnancy while flattering her natural beauty. This, Camila declared, holding it up, and you'll borrow my good earrings. You'll be magnificent. What do you think will happen at the grand hotel opening? Will Isabella fully embrace this new world, or will her past fears hold her back? Drop your predictions in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe to witness the next exciting turn in their story. The night of the event, Isabella felt a wave of nerves as she stepped into the glittering ballroom of Julian's new hotel in Miraflores. Camila's emerald dress shimmered, miraculously accommodating her pregnancy while flattering her natural beauty, and the borrowed earrings sparkled. Still, Isabella felt utterly out of place among Lima's elite, a chef from a small bakery amidst a sea of investors and socialites. Then she saw him, Julian, across the room, his eyes scanning the crowd. When his gaze landed on her, his face transformed with a smile that made her heart race, instantly dispelling her apprehension. He crossed the room with purpose, his focus solely on her. You came, he said, his voice warm, as if he'd half expected her to cancel. We promised, Sophia replied seriously, clutching Isabella's hand. Throughout the evening, Julian proudly introduced Isabella to everyone as the culinary genius behind our authentic breakfast experience. When esteemed business associates expressed interest in her pastries, he directed them to her, stepping back to let her shine. His quiet support a powerful affirmation. He didn't just see her as a business opportunity. He saw her talent. During a lull in the festivities, Julian led Isabella and Sophia to a small balcony overlooking the vibrant city lights of Lima. Sophia was enchanted by the view, pointing out landmarks she recognized with breathless excitement. This is where I come to think, Julian admitted, his voice soft. Away from all the noise. It's beautiful, Isabella agreed, feeling a rare sense of peace settle over her. So peaceful. Dance with me? Julian asked suddenly, as a slower, romantic melody drifted through the open doors. Here? Now? Isabella laughed nervously, a blush rising to her cheeks. She was pregnant, her dress was elegant but restrictive, and they were in the middle of a high-profile event. Why not? His hand extended in invitation, his eyes twinkling. Against her better judgment, Isabella accepted. As they swayed gently to the music, Sophia watching with wide-eyed approval, Julian whispered, "You belong here as much as anyone, Isabella." For a moment, just one precious moment, Isabella allowed herself to believe him, to truly feel like she belonged, not just in this space, but by his side. Do you think Isabella is ready to truly embrace this new world Julian is offering? Or will her past hold her back? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you're feeling the magic of this unexpected connection, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more heartwarming twists. Later that night, as they said goodbye at her apartment building, Julian helped Isabella into a taxi with uncharacteristic awkwardness. "I'd like to see you again," he said, his voice a little hesitant. "Outside of business?" Isabella hesitated only briefly, her heart making the decision before her mind could overthink it. "I'd like that too." Driving home, Sophia snuggled against her side, already half asleep. "He's nice, Mama. Not like Papa was." The simple, innocent observation from her daughter's lips struck Isabella deeply. Children saw truth, where adults constructed elaborate defenses and intricate walls. At home, tucking Sophia into bed, Isabella asked cautiously, "Would it bother you if Julian came around more often?" Sophia considered this seriously, her eyes still heavy with sleep. "Does he make you happy, Mama?" "I think he could, mi vida," Isabella admitted, a fragile hope blooming in her chest. "Then he should definitely come more," Sophia declared, her eyes already drifting closed. "We've been sad too long, Mama." Isabella sat at her small kitchen table afterward, fingering the elegant business card Julian had given her weeks ago. The man who had impulsively purchased first-class tickets for strangers was the same one who remembered her daughter's love of drawing, who respected her business acumen, who danced with her under the stars, making her feel seen and cherished. For the first time in years, Isabella allowed herself to imagine possibilities beyond mere survival. It terrified her, but in the way that all worthy things do, with the thrilling promise of a life she hadn't dared to dream of. "The doctor says bed rest," Isabella reported, her voice tight with anxiety as she spoke to Julian on the phone. "Complete bed rest for at least 2 weeks. What about the bakery?" Julian asked, already knowing how much this news would worry her. "Camila can handle mornings, but afternoons." Her voice trailed off, picturing the chaos of her small shop during the afternoon rush. "I'll take care of it," Julian promised without hesitation, his tone brooking no argument. "Just focus on yourself and the baby." "Julian, I can't ask you to." "You didn't ask. I offered." He was true to his word. 30 minutes later, Julian arrived at Isabella's apartment with groceries and a folder of resumes. "Temporary staff options," he explained, "all with bakery experience. You'll interview them, of course. And who will look after Sophia after school?" "Camila works. I can pick her up," Julian offered, arranging fruit in a bowl on her kitchen counter as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "My afternoons are flexible." Isabella stared at him in disbelief. "Don't you have a hotel empire to run?" "That's what management teams are for," he replied with a wink. "Besides, Sophia is much better company than most of my business associates." And so began their new routine. Julian would drop by each morning to help Sophia get ready for school, then check on sweet whispers before his own meetings. Afternoons found him collecting Sophia, helping with homework, and often bringing dinner for all 3 of them. He moved through their small apartment with quiet efficiency, making himself indispensable in ways Isabella hadn't known she needed. One morning during the drive to school, Sophia studied Julian's profile with serious consideration. "Are you going to be my new papa?" she asked suddenly, her innocent question cutting through the morning calm. Julian nearly swerved the car in surprise. That's something for your mama to decide, Pequena. She likes you, Sophia confided, a mischievous glint in her eyes. She smiles differently when you call. Does she? Julian couldn't help the pleased tone in his voice. See, Sophia pressed. And you make her laugh. Papa never made her laugh. What do you think of Julian's dedication? Is he truly falling for Isabella and Sophia? Or are there other motivations at play? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you're swept up in the growing connection between these characters, please like this video and subscribe to our channel to follow their journey. That evening, after tucking Sophia into bed with a story, Julian brought a simple dinner for Isabella. Soup and freshly baked bread from her own bakery. Your temporary baker is good, Isabella admitted, but her media lunas need work. Nobody makes them like you do, Julian agreed, settling into the chair beside her bed. Sophia says you're feeling better today. I am. The doctor says the baby has stabilized. She hesitated, then added softly, Thank you for everything. You don't need to keep thanking me, he insisted, though his hand subconsciously reached for hers, their fingers interlacing. Yes, I do. Isabella tightened her grip. Stay? Just to talk. I feel like I hardly know you. Despite everything. Under the soft lamplight, Julian revealed his past. Growing up in a small mountain village outside Cusco, losing his parents young, working countless jobs to put himself through university. I was studying medicine when my grandmother fell ill, he explained, his voice tight with old pain. The hospitals wouldn't treat her properly because we couldn't pay. I dropped out, took odd jobs, saved every peso to start my first small hostel. So you could never be powerless because of money again, Isabella finished, understanding dawning in her eyes. Exactly. His eyes met hers, surprise in their depths at being so perfectly understood. Isabella, in turn, shared her own story. Her dreams of becoming a renowned pastry chef derailed when Sophia's father abandoned her during her first pregnancy. And this baby's father? Julian asked cautiously. He left when I refused to terminate the pregnancy, Isabella admitted, a shadow passing over her face. He already had a new girlfriend by then. It was a mistake trying to reconcile after years apart. His loss? Julian said simply, his hand still holding hers, his thumb gently caressing her knuckles. As the night grew late, Julian reluctantly rose to leave. At the bedroom door, he paused, looking back at Isabella with an expression that made her breath catch. What? She asked softly. Okay, here's part 6 of the story. Part 6. A shattered trust, a desperate plea. That night, returning to his empty, sterile apartment, Julian found himself drawn to the bookshelf where he'd placed Sophia's drawing. A simple sketch of the three of them holding hands, with Mi Familia written in childish script beneath it. His resolute facade crumbled as he traced the simple lines with his fingertip, the image a painful reminder of what he stood to lose. In San Telmo, Isabella was closing the bakery when the first contraction hit. She dismissed it as Braxton Hicks, a false alarm. She still had 2 weeks until her due date. But 20 minutes later, another came, stronger and more insistent, a tightening band of pain around her belly. She fumbled for her phone, her breath catching in her throat. Camila, she gasped into the receiver, her voice strained. I think it's time. I'm in Palermo at a client meeting, her sister replied, panic edging her voice. I'll leave now, but the traffic. It's okay, Isabella assured her, though it clearly wasn't. I'll call a taxi. But when the next contraction struck, a wave of searing pain that stole her breath, Isabella dropped the phone, doubling over in agony. Sophia, who had been quietly drawing at a back table, her usual exuberance replaced with a quiet worry, ran to her side. Mama, what's wrong? The baby? Isabella managed through gritted teeth, her face pale and slick with sweat. Your brother is coming early. Fear flashed across Sophia's face, but she squared her small shoulders, a surprising strength in her young frame. I'll help you. While Isabella focused on breathing, trying to ride the waves of pain, Sophia retrieved her mother's phone, her brow furrowed in determined concentration. Finding what she sought, she pressed the call button. "Hello." Julian's voice, cautious but immediate, filled the small bakery. "It's Sophia," she said, her voice trembling slightly, but holding steady. "Mama needs help. The baby is coming now." There was a brief pause, then, "I'm on my way, Pequena. Stay with her. You're being very brave." Within minutes, though it felt like hours to Isabella, Julian burst through the bakery door, still wearing his expensive business suit, his tie askew as if he'd been pulling at it in desperation. "Isabella," he breathed, kneeling beside her, his eyes filled with a raw, frantic concern. "Can you stand?" She nodded weakly, allowing him to help her up, his touch gentle but firm, a stark contrast to the storm raging within her. I didn't tell her to call you," she managed, a flicker of defiance in her pain-filled eyes. "I know," he replied simply, supporting her weight, his gaze unwavering. "My car's outside. Let's get you to the hospital." The drive passed in a blur of pain and terse directions, Isabella's world shrinking to the rhythm of her contractions and the sound of Julian's voice, a steady anchor in her escalating fear. When they arrived at the hospital, Julian took charge with a quiet authority that surprised even Isabella, getting her admitted while keeping a terrified Sophia calm, his presence a comforting shield against the chaos. As nurses wheeled Isabella toward delivery, she gripped Julian's hand, her carefully constructed walls finally crumbling. "I'm scared," she admitted, her voice barely a whisper. "I'm here," he promised, his eyes locked on hers, his grip tight and reassuring. "I'm not going anywhere. What do you think will happen next?" Will Julian be able to regain Isabella's trust? Or has he irrevocably damaged their fragile connection? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you're on the edge of your seat, desperate to know what happens next, please like this video and subscribe to our channel to witness the dramatic conclusion of their story. Hours later, exhausted but triumphant, Isabella held her newborn son in her arms. "Gabriel," she whispered, touching his tiny, perfect fingers. "His name is Gabriel." Outside, in the waiting room, Julian sat beside Sophia, who had finally succumbed to sleep against his shoulder, utterly worn out by the dramatic night. He didn't dare move, even as his arm grew numb and his back protested the uncomfortable hospital chair. A nurse approached quietly. "Senor, your wife is asking for you both." Julian didn't correct her assumption. Instead, he gently woke Sophia. "Would you like to meet your brother?" The girl's eyes flew open, confusion quickly replaced by excitement. "Is he okay? Is Mama okay?" "They're both perfect," Julian assured her, his voice thick with emotion. "Come see." As they entered the hospital room, Isabella was struck by how natural they looked together. Julian, guiding Sophia with a gentle hand on her shoulder, the child looking up at him with complete trust. The sight made her heart ache with possibilities she hadn't dared to entertain. "His name is Gabriel," she told them softly, her gaze sweeping over her small, unexpected family. "Like the angel," Sophia whispered, carefully touching her brother's tiny hand. "He's beautiful, Isabella," Julian said, his voice husky with emotion. "Just like his mother." Their eyes met over the baby's head, and something unspoken, an acknowledgement of the connection that persisted despite everything, passed between them. Julian cleared his throat. "Isabella, I know you don't want to see me after all this, but there are things you should know. About Raphael, about the building." "Not now," she replied gently, her exhaustion weighing heavily on her. "I'm too tired for complicated conversations." "Of course," he stepped back, a flicker of disappointment crossing his face. "I should go." "Stay?" Isabella surprised herself by saying, a fragile hope blooming in her chest. "Just until I fall asleep. For Sophia's sake." Julian nodded, settling into the chair beside her bed while Sophia curled up at the foot, her eyes fixed on her new brother, a silent guardian. The room fell into a comfortable quiet, broken only by the soft hum of the machines and the baby's gentle breathing. Do you think this quiet moment is enough to mend the broken trust between Isabella and Julian? What hidden truths do you believe still need to come out? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this emotional reunion has touched your heart, please like this video and subscribe to our channel to see how their story concludes. Why did you buy my building? Sophia asked suddenly, her innocent question hanging in the quiet room, cutting through the heavy, unspoken tension. Julian glanced at Isabella, who, despite her weariness, nodded slightly, giving permission. The owner was planning to sell to developers who would have demolished it, he explained, his voice low and steady. I couldn't let your mother lose her dream, your grandmother's legacy. Why didn't you tell her? Sophia persisted, always direct. Sometimes grown-ups make things complicated, Pequeña, he said with a sad smile, glancing at Isabella. I wanted to surprise her when the time was right. Grown-ups are silly, Sophia declared, returning to her careful observation of Gabriel, a moment of pure, unadulterated truth. Isabella felt tears gather in her eyes. The simple exchange revealed more truth than all the documents Raphael had delivered, cutting through the layers of suspicion and pain. She wanted to say something, to begin mending what had broken between them, to apologize for her harsh words, but exhaustion claimed her before she could form the words. When she woke hours later, Julian was gone, but he'd left a small, intricately folded paper crane on her bedside table. Unfolding it, she found a handwritten note inside. Call when you're ready to talk. I'll be waiting. Julian. The small gesture, a silent promise, offered a lifeline back to the hope she had almost given up on.
Mình đã hiểu. Đây là phần cuối cùng của câu chuyện. Tổng hợp tất cả những yêu cầu bạn đã đưa ra để mang đến một cái kết trọn vẹn và ý nghĩa.
Part 8. Our Unexpected Journey Home. Isabella's sister, Camila, arrived the next morning at the hospital with clothes and supplies. You look better than expected for someone who just gave birth, she observed, a knowing glint in her eye. Julian mentioned you did wonderfully. You spoke to Julian? Isabella asked, surprised. He called to update me, then offered to stay with Sophia so I could get your things. Camila's gaze turned pointed. He looks awful, by the way, like he hasn't slept in weeks. That's not my concern, Isabella insisted, though her voice lacked conviction. Isn't it? Camila countered, raising an eyebrow. The man rushes to your rescue in the middle of the night, stays through your entire labor, and looks at your children like they're precious treasures. If that's not your concern, Hermana, you're a bigger fool than I thought. Isabella sighed, cradling Gabriel closer. It's complicated. Only because you're both making it that way? Camila replied, smoothing Isabella's hair affectionately. Now, when do we get to take this beautiful boy home? 3 days later, Isabella returned home with Gabriel to find her apartment transformed. The refrigerator was stocked, a new crib stood assembled in her bedroom, and practical baby supplies were neatly arranged throughout the space. On the kitchen table sat an elegant envelope bearing her name. Julian came by yesterday, Sophia explained, bouncing on her toes with barely contained excitement. He brought everything for Gabriel. I see that, Isabella murmured, settling the sleeping newborn in his crib before picking up the envelope. Inside was a formal deed to her building, transferred into her name, along with a heartfelt letter written in Julian's precise handwriting. Isabella, first, congratulations on Gabriel's birth. He's perfect, just like his mother and sister. Second, I owe you the truth. The building was never meant to be leverage or control. The previous owner had accepted an offer from developers who planned to demolish the entire block for luxury apartments. I couldn't bear the thought of you losing your grandmother's legacy, so I made a better offer. As for Sofia Rodriguez, she was my business partner, never my fiancé. The engagement rumors were her creation, part of a strategy to pressure me into a merger. When I refused her increasingly unethical business practices, she sued, claiming I stole her family's expansion plans. The case was dismissed when evidence proved the plans were actually mine, shared during our partnership. The expansion plans for Sweet Whispers were drafted, but never to be implemented without your full partnership and consent. I believe in your talent, Isabella. Your pastries deserve to be enjoyed beyond one neighborhood. I understand your caution. You've been hurt before by men who made promises they couldn't keep. I can only say that I've never considered you or Sophia charity cases. From that first moment at the airport, I saw your strength, your dignity, your love for your daughter. Everything since has only deepened my admiration. The deed is yours, no strings attached. Do with it what you will. If you wish to continue our business arrangement, my team will respect your decisions. If not, I understand. I won't bother you again unless you wish it. But know that whatever you decide, my feelings remain unchanged. Yours, Julian. Isabella read the letter twice, then sank into a kitchen chair, emotions warring within her. Relief, regret, and a fragile, hopeful realization. Before she could process them, a knock sounded at her door. When she opened it, Julian stood there, uncharacteristically nervous. He wore jeans and a simple shirt rather than his usual business attire, making him look younger, more vulnerable. "I'm sorry to intrude," he began. "Raphael said you'd been discharged, and I wanted to make sure you had everything you needed." "We do, thank you," Isabella gestured to the transformed apartment. "For all of this." "It was nothing," he replied, his eyes searching hers. "Did you read?" "Yes." Isabella held up the letter. "I read it." And Isabella straightened her shoulders, a newfound resolve in her gaze. "I don't want your building or your contracts." Julian's face fell, disappointment clouding his features, until she continued. "But I do want you if you still want us, this complicated, messy little family." Before he could answer, Sophia burst from her bedroom, where she'd been pretending not to eavesdrop. She launched herself into Julian's arms, and he caught her automatically, lifting her up as she wrapped her small arms around his neck. "I knew you'd come back," she declared triumphantly. "I drew it, and now it's real." Over her head, Isabella and Julian shared a look that said everything words could not. He extended his free arm, and Isabella stepped into his embrace, finally allowing herself to trust in the future unfolding before them. That night, after Sophia was asleep and Gabriel fed, Isabella and Julian sat close together on her small sofa. "Why did you really help us that day at the airport?" she asked softly. "The truth." Julian considered his answer carefully, his fingers interlaced with hers. "I saw someone who needed help but was too proud to ask for it. It reminded me of myself years ago. But then, on the plane, something changed. You weren't just someone who needed help anymore. You were extraordinary. Even pregnant and emotional?" Isabella teased. "Especially then," he smiled. "Most people would have been broken by everything you'd faced. But there you were, still fighting, still dreaming. How could I not fall for that? And now, with a newborn and an 8-year-old with abandonment issues? Now I'm certain." He lifted her hand to his lips. "I've built hotels all over South America, but none of them have ever felt like home the way this tiny apartment does, when I'm here with you three." In the weeks that followed, they established a new rhythm. Julian divided his time between work and Isabella's family, often bringing paperwork to her apartment so he could be near them. Isabella gradually returned to the bakery for short periods, bringing Gabriel with her in a sling, while Julian's company finalized plans to expand her kitchen facilities. 1 month after Gabriel's birth, Isabella agreed to tour Julian's newest hotel development. "And here," he said, guiding her to a light-filled corner of the lobby, "is where I imagined a Sweet Whispers cafe, if you're interested." Isabella studied the space thoughtfully. "I'd need creative control and proper staffing. I won't sacrifice quality for quantity." "Absolutely," Julian agreed immediately. "You'd have final say on everything, and I'd need to keep the original bakery. It's where we started. I wouldn't dream of closing it." Julian hesitated, then added, "Isabella, I don't want to change who you are or what your business means to you. I just want to give you the resources to achieve what you've always dreamed of." Isabella looked at him, really looked, and saw the truth in his eyes. "I believe you," she said simply, and realized she meant it. That evening, Raphael stopped by Julian's apartment while he was reviewing contracts. So, Raphael began awkwardly. Isabella called me today. Julian looked up sharply. And she asked me to explain the building situation in detail. Raphael shifted uncomfortably. I told her everything. How you paid double market value to beat the developers. How you've been covering the property taxes while keeping her rent the same. You shouldn't have. Julian began. She deserved to know. Raphael interrupted firmly. She also asked about Sofia Rodriguez. Julian winced. What did you tell her? The truth. That Sofia tried to destroy you when you refused to compromise your ethics. That you protected your employees even when it cost you millions. Raphael smiled slightly. Your Isabella is thorough. She asked good questions. She's not my Isabella, Julian corrected automatically, though a warmth spread through him. No, Raphael raised an eyebrow. Could have fooled me. After Raphael left, Julian found himself staring at his phone, wondering if Isabella would call. Instead, a text arrived. Thank you for protecting my bakery, for protecting me, even when I didn't know I needed it. Can we talk tomorrow? That night, Julian slept soundly for the first time in weeks. The next day brought another surprise. Isabella arrived at his office unannounced, Gabriel sleeping peacefully in his carrier. I wanted to see where you work, she explained as his assistant showed her in. To understand your world better. Julian gave her the tour, watching with amusement as she assessed everything with her practical baker's eye. So many rooms just for meetings, she marveled. Most of it's unnecessary, Julian admitted. We could probably operate just as effectively from half the space. In his personal office, Isabella noted the framed sketch from Sofia displayed prominently on his desk. She touched it gently, then turned to him with determined eyes. I've been thinking about your offer, the cafe in your hotel. And I want to do it, she said firmly. But as a partnership, equal stakes. Julian's eyebrows rose. You want to be my business partner? Is that a problem? Not at all, he replied, breaking into a wide smile. It's brilliant. You understand the culinary side. I know the hospitality industry. Together we could build something special. Isabella finished, her eyes shining. For Gabriel and Sofia's future. Julian moved around his desk to stand before her. Isabella Reyes, you continue to amaze me. Good, she replied, rising on tiptoes to kiss him lightly. I plan to keep it that way. Gabriel's first birthday arrived with perfect spring weather. The celebration at Sweet Whispers spilled onto the sidewalk, with neighbors, friends, and regular customers joining to celebrate the baby boy who had become the bakery's unofficial mascot. Isabella surveyed the scene with quiet pride. The past year had transformed her life in ways she'd never imagined. The original bakery still thrived in San Telmo, while the cafe in Julian's hotel had become a destination in its own right. She'd hired and trained women from her grandmother's village, preserving traditional techniques while creating new opportunities. Penny for your thoughts? Julian said, appearing beside her with 2 glasses of champagne. Just gratitude, Isabella replied, accepting a glass. A year ago I was terrified now. Now you're thriving, he finished, his eyes warm with admiration. We all are. It was true. Sofia had blossomed, her artistic talents encouraged by both Julian and her mother. Gabriel was a happy, curious baby who charmed everyone he met, and Isabella herself had found confidence as both a mother and businesswoman. Have you seen Sofia? She asked, scanning the crowd. She was showing Gabriel to Camila last I saw, Julian replied. Don't worry, they're fine. But there was something in his tone, a slight tension, that caught Isabella's attention. What are you up to? She asked suspiciously. Me? Nothing. He sipped his champagne too innocently. Can't a man simply enjoy his family's celebration? Later, as the party wound down, Julian suggested a walk to Plaza Dorigo, where they had reconnected after their flight together. No, we should help clean up, Isabella protested. Camila and Raphael have it covered, Julian assured her. Besides, it's tradition now. We always walk to the plaza on important days. This was true. They had started the habit on Gabriel's baptism day, continuing on Sophia's birthday and their various business milestones. All right, Isabella agreed. Let me get Gabriel ready. Already done, Julian said as Sophia appeared with her brother perfectly dressed in his little jacket. Sophia helped. The 9-year-old nodded solemnly, though her eyes danced with barely suppressed excitement. We have to go now, Mama. It's important. The small family strolled through the familiar streets of San Telmo, Julian pushing Gabriel's stroller, while Isabella and Sophia walked ahead, pointing out autumn decorations in shop windows. As they approached the plaza, Isabella noticed Sophia repeatedly glancing back at Julian, who responded with subtle nods. What are you two plotting? Isabella asked, amused. Nothing, they answered in unison, immediately confirming her suspicions. In the plaza, the late afternoon sun filtered through the jacaranda trees, casting purple-tinted shadows across the cobblestones. Sophia suddenly rushed ahead with Gabriel's stroller. We'll be right here, Mama, she called back. By the fountain. Before Isabella could respond, Julian took her hands, drawing her attention back to him. His expression had turned serious, almost nervous. A year ago I was successful but empty, he began. You taught me that real wealth isn't in buildings or bank accounts. It's in moments like this, with you, with our children. Isabella's heart quickened as he reached into his pocket, beginning to kneel beneath the jacaranda trees. Wait, she laughed, stopping him, a joyful tear escaping her eye. Before you continue, she reached into her own purse and pulled out a small box, enjoying his surprised expression. Great minds think alike, she said softly. Julian straightened, looking at her box with curiosity. May I? Instead of a ring, Isabella's box contained airline tickets, first class to a small mountain village outside Cusco. I thought we could visit your hometown, she explained. See where you grew up, maybe find a small place there. Gabriel should know all sides of his heritage. Julian stared at the tickets, visibly moved, his eyes glistening. Isabella, open yours now, she urged, suddenly shy. He fumbled slightly as he retrieved his own box, opening it to reveal a vintage ring with a modest but brilliant diamond. My grandmother's, he explained, the only family heirloom I have. It's beautiful, Isabella whispered. Not as beautiful as you. Julian took a deep breath. When I saw you that day at the airport, something told me my life was about to change. I had no idea how completely. He held up the ring. Isabella Reyes, will you marry me? Make this imperfect family of ours official. Yes, she managed, tears filling her eyes. Yes, mi amor. 1,000 times yes. As he slipped the ring onto her finger, an excited squeal broke the moment. Sophia abandoned her pretense of not watching, rushing toward them with Gabriel's stroller. Finally, she exclaimed, throwing her arms around them both. Operation New Family is complete. Operation New Family? Isabella repeated, raising an eyebrow at Julian. He shrugged, looking slightly embarrassed. She insisted on a code name. How long have you two been planning this? 3 weeks, 2 days and 4 hours, Sophia reported precisely. Julian wanted my permission before asking you. Did he now? Isabella looked at him with newfound tenderness. Of course, Julian replied seriously. I needed approval from the most important person in your life. Sophia beamed with pride, while Gabriel gurgled happily, reaching for the sparkly ring on his mother's finger. As they walked home through the twilight streets, Julian's arm around Isabella's waist, and Sophia skipping ahead with the stroller, Isabella marveled at how completely her life had transformed. Are you happy? Julian asked softly, as if reading her thoughts. Gloriously, she assured him. Are you? More than I ever thought possible. He kissed her temple. Though I'm a bit nervous about telling Raphael he'll need to be my best man. He'll be insufferably smug about having brought us together. After he nearly tore us apart, Isabella reminded him, a playful glint in her eyes. His heart was in the right place, even if his methods were terrible, Julian conceded. He's been my only family for so long. Until now. 3 months later, in a small, intimate ceremony at Julian's childhood village outside Cusco, they exchanged vows under flowering jacaranda trees. Isabella's bakery had opened a small satellite location in the village, run by local women eager to learn her grandmother's recipes. The hotel business had evolved too. Julian's properties now featured cultural preservation initiatives in every community they operated in, with profits partially reinvested in local education and entrepreneurship programs. The reception was held in the town square, where villagers mingled with business associates and Isabella's family from Lima. Sophia proudly showed off her new role as big sister, keeping watchful eyes on Gabriel as he charmed the elderly women with his toothy grin. As night fell and lanterns illuminated the celebration, Isabella and Julian danced beneath the stars, surrounded by their children and new extended family. Who would have thought a missed flight could lead to this? Isabella murmured against his shoulder. Julian smiled, pulling her closer. It wasn't missed, Isabella. It was right on time. In the background, Sophia proudly showed off her latest masterpiece to admiring relatives. A framed drawing of their airplane meeting with "The Day Our Family Began," carefully lettered beneath it. She got your artistic talent, Julian observed, watching the girl gesture animatedly. And your business sense, Isabella added. She's already planning to sell prints. They laughed together, the sound merging with the music and conversation around them. The symphony of a life neither had imagined when a harried airline agent tried to bump a pregnant woman and her daughter from their flight. I love you, Julian whispered, forehead resting against hers. All of you. And we love you, Isabella replied simply. Our unexpected journey. As midnight approached, they gathered Sophia and Gabriel for the short walk to the small house they'd purchased in the village. A retreat from city life and a connection to Julian's roots. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities. But tonight, under stars that seemed to shine especially for them, they were simply a family finding their way home together. The morning sun streamed through wide windows, illuminating the organized chaos of breakfast in the Vargas household. 5 years had passed since Isabella and Julian had exchanged vows under the jacaranda trees in Cusco, and their family had settled into rhythms that somehow accommodated both stability and adventure. Mama. Gabriel hid my math homework again. Sophia, now 14 and navigating the complexities of adolescence with artistic flair, stormed into the kitchen with accusation in her eyes. Did not. Gabriel defended, milk dribbling down his chin as he clutched his cereal spoon. At 6 years old, he had inherited his mother's determined spirit and his father's mischievous smile, a combination that proved equally charming and challenging. Peace, you two, Isabella warned, expertly balancing a squirming toddler on her hip while flipping pancakes with her free hand. 3-year-old Sophia, their unexpected blessing, had arrived exactly 9 months after a second honeymoon to Patagonia. Julian entered from his home office, immediately divining the situation. Sophia, check your tablet case. Gabriel, if you took her homework, now's the time to confess. Gabriel's guilty look told the whole story. Why? Sophia groaned, throwing her hands up dramatically. She said my drawings were babyish, Gabriel mumbled, kicking the chair leg. So you hid her algebra? Julian raised an eyebrow, a playful glint in his eye. Interesting revenge strategy. Sophia triumphantly retrieved her crumpled homework from behind the bookshelf where Gabriel had stashed it. You're such a pain. Enough, Isabella said firmly. Sophia, apologize for criticizing your brother's art. Gabriel, apologize for taking her homework. Then everyone sits down for breakfast or you'll all be late. The children complied with minimal grumbling, a testament to Isabella's quietly authoritative parenting. As the family settled around the table, Julian caught her eye across the noisy breakfast scene, his expression conveying silent appreciation for the beautiful, chaotic life they'd built together. Their home in Lima, a spacious apartment not far from the original Sweet Whispers bakery, perfectly reflected their blended priorities. Julian's sleek modern furniture coexisted with Isabella's handcrafted pieces. Sophia's artwork hung alongside valuable paintings collected during their travels. It was chaotic and mismatched, yet somehow harmonious, like their family itself. Big day today, Julian reminded everyone, buttering toast for Sophia. Mama's interview with Gastronomia magazine, and afterward we need to finalize our Cusco house renovations. Isabella nodded, momentarily lost in thought. The past 5 years had transformed both their professional lives. Sweet Whispers had grown into a respected brand with 6 locations across Peru, each preserving traditional baking methods while training local women in the culinary arts. The business model had attracted international attention for its combination of quality, authenticity, and social impact. Julian's hotel chain had evolved too, focusing exclusively on properties that celebrated and sustained local culture. Their partnership, personal and professional, had created something neither could have achieved alone. Earth to Mama, Sophia teased, waving her hand. Are you nervous about the interview? A little, Isabella admitted. It's strange to be considered an authority on anything. You were always an authority, Julian countered, his smile warm. The world just finally noticed. After breakfast, organized chaos evolved into the morning departure ritual. Julian would drop Sophia at her art-focused secondary school and Gabriel at primary before heading to his office. Isabella worked from home most mornings, developing recipes and managing operations with Sophia's help, before joining Julian at their shared headquarters in the afternoon. Everyone has their project for tonight, Isabella confirmed as they gathered backpacks and briefcases. The family was preparing their annual tradition, a bound collection of drawings, photographs, and written memories from the past year. The project had started as Sophia's gift for her parents' first anniversary and evolved into a cherished family ritual. I finished mine last night, Sophia announced proudly. It's my best one yet. Mine has dinosaurs, Gabriel stated, as if this clearly made his contributions superior. Sophia drew too, their toddler insisted, not to be left out. And I'm sure they're all wonderful, Isabella assured them, kissing each child goodbye. When she reached Julian, their kiss lingered a moment longer, still carrying the spark that had ignited on that first-class flight years ago. I'll see you at the interview, he promised. The meeting with the Rodriguez investors shouldn't run long. Sofia Rodriguez's family? Isabella asked with raised eyebrows. Time had softened many rough edges, but some names still carried history. Her brother, Julian clarified. He's nothing like her. Actually approached us about adapting our social impact model for their properties. Isabella nodded, appreciating how life sometimes came full circle in unexpected ways. After the family departed, Isabella settled at her desk with Sophia playing nearby. The bakery operations largely ran themselves now, with trusted managers at each location, but product development remained her domain. Today, however, her focus was on the interview, her first major media spotlight as a businesswoman rather than just a baker. Her phone chimed with a message from Camila. Don't forget to mention how you started. Your airport love story sells pastries. Trust me. Isabella smiled. The story of how she and Julian met had become a minor local legend. The millionaire who bought first-class tickets for a struggling pregnant woman and her daughter, only to fall in love and build an empire together. Customers at the original San Telmo bakery location still asked about it, especially after a small lifestyle blog had featured their wedding 5 years ago. Later that afternoon, as the magazine photographer arranged Isabella and Julian in the original bakery for photos, she felt a strange sense of displacement. The humble space where she'd once feared losing everything had become just one small part of their expanding ventures. Yet the heart of it, her grandmother's recipes, the commitment to quality, the feeling of home, remained unchanged. One last question, the interviewer said. You two have built something remarkable together. What's your secret? Isabella and Julian exchanged glances, a world of private understanding passing between them. Understanding that success means different things to different people, Isabella offered. I never wanted an empire. I wanted security for my children and to honor my grandmother's legacy. And I had the empire but not the purpose, Julian added, his gaze fixed on Isabella. Isabella taught me that true wealth isn't measured in properties or profits. It's measured in moments like these, with the people you love. That evening, after the children were finally settled, Isabella and Julian retreated to their balcony with glasses of wine. The Lima skyline glittered before them, a view Julian once would have seen only in terms of real estate potential, but now appreciated simply for its breathtaking beauty. "I found something today," he said, pulling a small, elegant envelope from his pocket. Cleaning out the old files in preparation for the Cusco trip, Isabella opened it to find their original boarding passes from that first flight, carefully preserved. "You kept these?" she whispered, touched. "Of course," Julian said softly. The day everything changed, Isabella leaned against him, reflecting on the journey from that moment to this one. There had been challenges. Merging their businesses, navigating parenting decisions, balancing ambition with family needs. Yet somehow, the foundation built in those early days, trust slowly earned, respect freely given, had weathered every storm. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if we hadn't been on the same flight that day?" she asked. "Sometimes," Julian admitted. "But then I remember something my grandmother used to say, that souls meant to find each other will always find a way." From inside came the sound of Sophia's music, mingling with Gabriel's chatter as the older children finished their projects for the family album. Sophia had long since fallen asleep, her tiny contribution, mostly colorful scribbles, already safely stored in Isabella's desk. "They're good kids," Julian said quietly. "All of them. They are," Isabella agreed. "Complicated and messy and completely perfect." As night deepened around them, they remained on the balcony, fingers intertwined, occasionally sharing observations or plans for the future. The comfortable silence between such moments spoke of a relationship that had moved beyond the need for constant reassurance. In 5 years, they had built more than businesses or homes. They had created a family bound not by obligation but by choice, each day choosing again to love, to forgive, to grow together rather than apart. And it had all begun with a simple act of kindness at an airport gate. A millionaire buying first-class seats for a pregnant woman and her daughter, about to be removed from a flight. Neither could have imagined then where that moment would lead, how completely their separate paths would merge into one shared journey. As the city lights twinkled below them, Isabella raised her glass in a silent toast to missed flights and found dreams, to families created rather than merely born, and to the beautiful certainty that the best chapters of their story were still waiting to be written. Instead of answering, he returned to her bedside, leaning down slowly enough that she could have stopped him if she wanted. Their lips met in a gentle kiss, hesitant at first, then deepening as Isabella's hand came up to touch his face, pulling him closer. When they finally parted, both slightly breathless, Julian rested his forehead against hers. "I've wanted to do that since I first saw you at the airport," he confessed, his voice a low rumble. "Even when I was arguing with the ticket agent?" Isabella teased, a soft laugh escaping her lips. "Especially then. You were magnificent." For the first time in years, Isabella felt something bloom inside her that felt dangerously like hope, a future that promised more than just survival. The following week, Julian traveled to Chile for business. 3 days, then I'll be back," he promised. "Raphael can handle Sophia's school pickup." Isabella knew Raphael was Julian's best friend and business partner, but something about the man's cool demeanor had always made her uneasy. Her instincts proved correct when Raphael appeared at her apartment unexpectedly on the second day, without Sophia. "Where's my daughter?" Isabella demanded, struggling to sit up in bed, a wave of panic washing over her. "With your sister. I called Camila to pick Sophia up," Raphael replied, his expression unreadable as he placed a thin folder on her bedside table. "You should know who you're getting involved with, Isabella." He left without another word, leaving behind a chilling silence and a growing sense of dread. Isabella stared at the folder for an hour before her curiosity, mingled with a creeping fear, finally compelled her to open it. Inside, she found newspaper clippings about Julian's ex-fiancée, Sofia Rodriguez, heiress to a rival hotel chain, Oasis Hotels. The articles detailed a bitter lawsuit where Sophia accused Julian of stealing her family's expansion plans. Another document revealed that Julian had purchased the building housing Isabella's bakery and the entire block, 2 weeks after meeting her at the airport. The final page was a draft contract to open Sweet Whispers locations in all his hotels internationally. He bought my building? He was planning this from the start? The revelation hit Isabella like a physical blow, stealing her breath. Every kind gesture, every reassuring word, every shared laugh suddenly felt tainted, part of a calculated scheme. Her heart, so recently opened to the fragile possibility of happiness, began to harden, brick by painful brick. How would you react if you discovered such a secret about someone you were falling for? Is Julian a manipulator, or is there more to the story? Share your raw emotions in the comments below. If this sudden twist has left you reeling, like this video and subscribe to our channel for the truth to unfold. When Julian returned the next day, arriving at her door with a bouquet of vibrant flowers and excited news about expansion plans for her bakery, Isabella was waiting. The incriminating documents lay spread across her kitchen table, a stark accusation in the bright afternoon light. "Isabella, you're up," the doctor said. "Was this your plan all along?" She interrupted coldly, her voice sharp with a pain she hadn't known she could feel. "To buy my building, to control my business?" Julian's smile vanished as he noticed the papers, his eyes widening in confusion. "Where did you get those?" "Raphael brought them." Isabella's voice trembled despite her efforts to remain composed. "He thought I should know exactly who I was getting involved with." She took a shaky breath, her gaze piercing his. "Did you help us on that flight because you saw a business opportunity? Or worse, a charity case?" "It wasn't like that, Isabella," Julian pleaded, reaching for her hand, his face etched with desperation. Isabella stepped back, recoiling from his touch. "Then what was it like? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you've been manipulating me from the start." "Let me explain. The building, Julian," she cried, a raw edge of betrayal in her voice. "You bought my building and never told me. I was going to tell you when the time was right. And when would that be?" Isabella countered, her voice rising. "After I was completely dependent on you? After you'd taken over my grandmother's recipes for all your hotels." "That's not fair, Isabella," Julian protested, his brow furrowed. "I would never." "And Sofia Rodriguez?" Isabella cut in, the name a bitter taste on her tongue. "The articles say you stole her family's plans. Those claims were dismissed. If you'd read further." "I've read enough." Isabella crossed her arms protectively over her belly, as if shielding herself and her unborn child from his deception. "I trusted you with my daughter's heart. With mine. Leave Julian. We were fine before you, and we'll be fine after." "Isabella, please. Go!" she screamed, pointing to the door, her voice cracking with the force of her pain. As Julian turned to leave, defeat evident in every line of his body, he nearly collided with Sophia, who stood in the doorway clutching her sketchbook, tears streaming down her face. "You're leaving?" she asked in a small voice, her innocent eyes filled with confusion and hurt. Julian knelt down to her level. "Just for now, Pequena. But I'll always." "Don't," Isabella warned sharply, her voice strained. "Don't make promises you won't keep." Julian stood, his expression hardening, a flicker of something defiant in his eyes. "I've never broken a promise in my life. Not one that mattered." He placed a business card on the table, different from the first one he'd given her. "This is my personal number. When you're ready to hear the truth, call me." After he left, Sophia ran to her room, slamming the door with uncharacteristic force, the sound echoing through the suddenly empty apartment. Isabella sank into a kitchen chair, one hand resting on her belly where the baby kicked furiously, as if protesting the turmoil in her world. "We've managed before," she whispered to her unborn child. "We'll manage again." But as night fell and she lay alone in the darkness, staring at the ceiling, Isabella wondered if managing was really all she wanted from life anymore.